Hey everyone, welcome back to Installation 00 and this, the most detailed video series. In this episode, we'll be breaking down the Elite Combat Harness.
Humans, I have taken over this feed for one reason. It is better to learn of the subtleties of combat harness designed from a Sangheili. This human, while informed, does not substitute the first-hand knowledge of my kind. Thus, if you wish to learn of our armor, it is only fitting that I be the one to inform you. Listen closely, for I will not be doing this again. Our base combat harness design entered service over 1100 cycles ago. It is constructed of a nanolaminate armor plating not unlike the armor used on the hull of our warships, and is powered by a small version of the power plants also used in our warships. It augments our kind's already formidable strength and speed, and grants a Sangheili warrior additional protection from the powerful energy shields to the armor plating of the harness itself, ensuring that the warrior wearing it can be as combat effective as is possible. It should be noted, however, that the harness is not the real reason our kind is so proficient in the art of war, but rather provides all warriors with the same base equipment, and thus the same opportunities to succeed in the theater of war. It is then down to the warrior as to whether they rise to greatness or fall into shadow. Greatness is rewarded with more powerful and ornate versions of the harness and access to more powerful weapons. If they fall, however, it is asked only that they fall with honor. If they do not, they are not worthy of the armor they wear and bring shame to their lineage. But that is another lesson, better fitted perhaps to Sangheili culture. There are none that know our combat harness's internal workings better than Huragok. They, under the instruction of the prophets, took our traditional combat harness and altered it significantly, producing the version so widely known amongst the species of the galaxy. If you wish to learn of our more traditional combat harnesses, I will certainly oblige. But if it is this iteration you wish to learn of, only a Huragok can give you the answers you seek.
That is where you are wrong. Leave it to an elite to underestimate human ingenuity. Where to begin? The outermost layer, perhaps? The energy shield is a good place to start. The energy shielding used on the combat harness is simply a smaller version of the same shielding used on Covenant battleships. The shielding emitters create an electromagnetic field of oscillating polarity in a complex geometric pattern with close enough field density to avoid collapse, but not too close, which may result in short circuit. A highly charged plasma medium is then injected into the space between the fields and becomes the body of the energy shield, when not excited by an external energy source, as with human energy shields. The shielding is invisible to the eye. When the shield begins to take damage, they flare. The colour of the shield flare indicates the energy level of the plasma medium. The blue appearance of the energy shields of the Elite Combat Harness indicates that the energy shielding system operates at a significantly higher frequency than human energy shields, meaning they also consume significantly more power, likely due to the less efficient manner in which the shield geometry is projected. Even though the energy shield is less efficient in recharge and energy efficiency, the base level energy shield for a Sangheili miner is roughly equivalent in strength to that of Mjolnir Mark V energy shields, but significantly less energy efficient. Other grades of energy shields are available for combat harnesses for more senior ranked elite warriors. These more powerful shields are made possible by increasing the electrical impedance of the electromagnetic field as well as increasing the energy density of the highly charged plasma medium. This increase in impedance leads to the electromagnetic fields to overlap and positively reinforce where polarities are in oscillative symmetry, and the increase in energy density of the plasma medium means less energy resistance is needed to filter the plasma medium coming directly from the combat harness's power source. The effect of these two conditions is that the higher the grade of energy shield, the more efficient they become. Another net effect of this is that the energy shield power climbs to a scale of amplitude higher than the base energy shield. The normally invisible energy shield begin to emit light due to the higher energy frequency level causing visible light to be emitted, as well as the upper surface of the magnetic field and its interaction with the atmosphere surrounding it. It is because of this that the more senior Sangheili warriors pose a more significant threat on the battlefield. not only because of their own combat prowess, enabling them to gain such a rank, but also the increase in shield strength and raw physical power of their combat harness's reactive components. The shielding is projected from the energy shield projectors positioned across the surface of the combat harness, allowing full coverage of the energy shield system with the exception of the bottom of the boots and the palm of the hands, thereby allowing the elite sure footing and good dexterity. It is noteworthy to mention that while the energy shield is a defensive system, an aggressive extension to the energy shield is available. The gauntlet armour of some variants of the combat harness are capable of projecting an ultra-fine electromagnetic field from near the wrist. This gauntlet has a larger plasma conduit reserve available to it, and when activated by the elite, a small energy dagger is projected, very similar in design and function to the much larger plasma sword. The elite can then use this plasma dagger as a close quarters weapon to self-defense or very up close and personal execution. The combat harness's armour plating typically covers the head, chest, shoulders, forearms, waist, thighs, lower legs and boots, although again, variations have been seen, likely due to individual preference. The thoracic cage is made up of two larger hemispherical plating components and back armour that lock together at the spine, but remain partially open at the sternum. The back unit contains the primary energy source of the armour and other functional components to do with the articulation, force amplification and energy distribution, as well as the energy shield emitters. The surface is generally adorned with symbols, usually religious, though occasionally simply markings of the armourer, and others still a kind of war paint.
The basic infantry combat harness thoracic cage has allowed the fighting spirit of our noble race to burn brightly for 50 generations, even during the dark cycles, whilst bound to the Prophet's will.
The shoulder pauldron is a set of overlapping plates that spike upwards, downwards and to each side, giving substantial protection to the shoulder while also enabling freedom of movement and serving secondary functions such as housing the motion sensor and more energy shield emitters.
Iconic deltoid protection emphasizes an extreme distance to inflict momentary psychological bewilderment upon enemy personnel, reinforces awareness of Sangheili physical and martial preeminence.
The forearms and lower leg armour have been witnessed to emit an orange glow which seems to coincide with the energy shielding. It is likely that these areas are a form of energy shield emitter, but one that avoids focusing the energy shield emitter to one small area and favours instead to emit the shielding over a larger surface area, perhaps to reduce single point heating, which would likely be a consequence of the less efficient energy shielding of the Sangheili Combat Harness. The armour plating of the Elite Combat Harness is made of a nano-laminar alloy. This means that varying metals and alloys are layered in a process that makes the material fully dense, while also layering different atomic structures of metals and alloys in specific orientations and at a thickness on the sub-micron scale. The reason that the exact alloy that has been used in much of the Covenant armour plating is unknown or cannot be ascertained is because a single sample of the nanolaminate armour plating will have such a plethora of metals and alloys layered onto the nanoscale at different orientations that any given sample would simply not meet any known iteration or permutation of any one known element, alloy or composite. This technique of layering materials on the nanoscale can be employed to create alloys with properties such as improved toughness, strength, thermal properties and corrosion that are a function of the interfaces in the nanolayers. They can be created using a bath containing multiple metal ion elements. By changing the current at precise moments to select a different element, it can create a layered structure. Some nanolaminar alloys have shown 8 times the resistance of carbon steels to degradation, and in some cases, no measurable degradation whatsoever. This also explains how the Elite Combat Harness can be coloured so dramatically, but also show little to no noticeable wear and tear. The exact desired colour of the armour plating is ascertained simply by which metal alloy or compound makes up the outermost layers of the nanolaminate plating, as all elements reflect, refract and absorb different wavelengths of light differently. Active camouflage systems are used extensively throughout Covenant Spec Ops forces, but in regards to the base Sangheili Minor Combat Harness, the active camouflage generators are seldom ever used. These built-in generators have a severe drawback in that they divert power away from shielding equipment. Troops equipped with permanent active camouflage generators tend to have weaker shielding than those that are not equipped with an active camouflage generator. Thus, they are favoured more amongst the Spec Ops and stealth factions of the Sangheili and Covenant military. Though active camouflage is quite effective from a distance, it can faintly be seen if an observer is close enough to the wearer. However, it is difficult to spot a camouflaged opponent from a distance using a scoped weapon. Actual physical proximity is required to reliably spot an individual using active camouflage. It should be noted, though, that active camouflage does not mask environmental effects such as footprints, meaning that it is not as effective on soft terrains such as snow. The shielding provided by Covenant active camo can be disrupted if a projectile passes through it. Such a disruption weakens the invisibility effect and temporarily reveals the wearer. The invisibility can be affected if the wearer fires shots or if the wearer is hit. It also progressively worsens the longer the wearer fires or is hit, the more visible they become. Once the disruption ends, however, the wearer quickly regains their invisibility. Talc powder and other atmospheric particles can disrupt the system, causing the technology to overload and fail. The device also causes a significant amount of heat, causing its user to be clearly visible on human thermal goggles and some variations of the SRS-99C S2AM sniper rifle. Located on the lower back of the thoracic cage connecting it and the waist armour is a small glowing device which contains the power source of the Sangheili Combat Harness, the micro-pinch fusion reactor. The Covenant use a technique which replicates the conditions inside the core of a star, using deuterium and tritium as a fuel source, which are isotopes of hydrogen with a nucleus that contains a proton-neutron pair and a proton-neutron-neutron trio respectively, where a normal, more common hydrogen atom known as protium has no neutron at all. Because of this method, it can be considered a purer, more natural way of producing energy, if a little uninspired. The pinch fusion reactor, as used in the Sangheili Combat Harness, is identical if significantly smaller than the same device found in all Covenant ships, facilities, and large-scale weapons and vehicles. The achievement of being so small is solely down to the work of the enslaved Hurugok. The pinch fusion reactor generates energy by using an artificial gravity generator. These gravity generators create highly focused and powerful gravity fields which, as a causative effect, give a close approximation to the forces at work within the core of a main sequence star. The physical shape of the reactor, with its two cone-shaped gravity-focusing generators positioned one above the other, their tips in close proximity to each other, allows the gravity field to be focused down from a larger macro area to an extraordinarily small micro area, facilitated in the continued fusion reaction by literally pinching matter inside a very tiny gravity-reinforced area. This means that when the reactor then injects a steady stream of deuterium and tritium, the particles immediately encounter this environment and act as though they were actually within the core of a star. They are suddenly pinched and powerfully forced together, fusing them into helium-4 nucleus and a free neutron almost instantly, generating huge amounts of energy in the form of light and heat. The energy that is released is then used as the primary source of energetic excitation to energize the plasma medium that all Covenant technology seems to use as the basis of their energy source. The plasma within the reaction area is kept compressed by high-strength magnetic fields, ensuring the reaction can be sustained continuously. The carapaces that surround the base of each focus cone generate incredibly strong energy shields and magnetic fields to contain the reaction. If this energy shield fails or is breached, the fusion reaction becomes uncontained and immediately draws mass and energy towards it, increasing its critical temperature, resulting in a cataclysmic explosion. The energized plasma medium is then vectored from the reactor across the combat harness to where it is needed via a near microscopic plasma conduit. These conduits thereby allow the flow of free electrons held within the plasma medium to power the various devices and functions of the combat harness. Underneath the armor plating is the internal bodysuit. This suit gives additional armor protection to the vital areas not covered by the armor plating, and is made of a fibrous nanolaminate woven into a very dense weave. that makes it extremely resilient to damage. The suit contains structural hardpoints, which enable the connection of various different classes of combat harness. The suit creates mechanical back pressure on the wearer's body as the basis of a vacuum-proof suit similar to the Sangheili Rangers. The base combat harness is not capable of operation in vacuum or toxic environments, mainly due to the undersuit not being a complete pressure suit, with key components like gloves and a sealed helmet otherwise missing. However, the base internal bodysuit can be upgraded to be rated for vacuum and toxic environments by fitting the Ranger armor plate components to the hardpoints located across the internal bodysuit surface. The suit lacks any internal heating or cooling systems, as this was deemed insignificant enough to the needs of a Sangheili warrior to simply not be included. But the material itself is very insulative. Aside from its armor properties, the internal bodysuit also contains a few unexpected components. The Sangheili as a species are extraordinarily powerful, but their combat harness does augment their strength via a series of force amplifiers. These are positioned throughout the suit in the form of long, tendon-like composite fibers. A second set of fibers positioned in anatomical positions to mimic the Sangheili musculature and are joined to an internal articulated support structure. They are passively resistive based on their predefined geometric shapes, very similar to memory metals. When the wearer makes a voluntary motion, these fibers are forced to alter their shape. This change in their geometry creates a change in their electrical resistance. This is detected by a simple but effective system which recognizes the change in electrical resistance on both the flexion and extension side of the joint, then diverts a flow of electrons to the larger tendon-like force amplifying fibers. These then contract with surprising force given their size, and thereby add to the Sangheili's already incredible strength. This has been noted as being referenced as tendons as hard as steel. The assist ratio is much less than the assist ratio of Spartan's Mjolnir, roughly equivalent to an increase in strength of a factor of 1.7, due to the elite's already immense physical prowess. It has been noted on numerous occasions that an elite in their combat harness and a Spartan in their Mjolnir Mark V armour are a near equal match in physical strength, with variance likely due to individual strengths. But nevertheless, a Sangheili warrior is not to be trifled with, in or out of armour. The combat harness also grant the wearer a marginal increase in the reaction times as well. This is majoritively due to how rapidly the tendon-like force-amplifying fibres contract. The system which controls this response doesn't account for speed, meaning that, much like Mjolnir, the speed of the reaction cannot be scaled back or slowed down in any way. This likely means that there is a period of time where newly armoured Sangheili warriors will need to acclimatise to the increase of speed, but again, the increase in speed is much less than that of the increase granted by Mjolnir armour. Mjolnir increases reaction time by a factor of 5, where the Elite combat harness only increases by approximately double. Elite have fast reaction times anyway due to their training and their natural physiology, but compared to a Spartan in Mjolnir there is very little match. A Spartan can outmaneuver most Sangheili when it comes to reaction time, even if their strength are a close approximate match. The helmet of the base combat harness is largely angular and made of the same nanolaminar armour that the rest of the harness is, featuring a set of spikes at the rear of the helmet and a pair of cheek guards. It features a metal plate guarding each mandible and is affixed to the warrior's head via what is roughly equivalent to a chin strap. It loops around underneath and behind the mandibles and over the top of the head, where a mounting plate and cushion can be found. This strap also contains the communications gear that links wirelessly to the combat harness to be forwarded onto the Covenant BattleNet or other communications networks available at the time. The helmet engages with this mounting plate, and the cushion acts to reduce force translated from the helmet into the skull of the wearer. The helmet features a heads-up display which is projected onto semi-refractive lenses that the elite wears over their eyes. The heads-up display grants the wearer information regarding their weapons, ammunition, a compass and motion tracker. The HUD also allows a wireless connection to the scope imager of weaponry, allowing a full visual display of the scope of the weapon, allowing accurate weapon handling even when fired from the hip. This particular helmet doesn't finish any pressure seal, allowing operations in vacuum, but other variants I will cover in the future do.
The pattern of basic infantry helmet has remained virtually unchanged now for 1100 cycles. It has been burned into the psyche of the known galaxy as the primary symbol of military prowess.
The helmet finishes the elite combat harness in a very aesthetically and functionally fitting way, framing these massive saurian creatures and giving them the aggressive and powerful silhouette so fitting of their military prowess. The base combat harness, while one of the lesser powered and more commonly seen, is still a formidable platform that has stood the test of time and the Sangheili's overall highly militarized history. Likely tweaked and iterated upon through the duration of its early inception, the armour evidently hit what the Sangheili would consider perfect application a long time ago and has gone largely unchanged ever since. Although, if we're honest, that may be likely due to their lack of innovation, and I for one can see at least a dozen things that could be starkly improved upon. Perhaps we should put the Sangheili armourers in touch with the likes of Catherine Halsey, and see what she could teach them of true combat armour innovation. Or perhaps not.
You failed to mention how devastatingly effective our combat harnesses were against your species, but understand your kind can be quite sensitive about it.
So devastatingly effective that our Spartans destroyed your forces in ground-based engagements time and time again.
Your demons are highly talented warriors, I will agree to this, but they only represent a tiny portion of your species as a whole, while every Sangheili is trained to be a warrior.
And yet, the tiny portion of humanity that are Spartans managed to stop your entire species and the half a dozen other species that made up the Covenant. Show me exactly how every member of your species being trained as warriors made that any better for you.
You see, your kind. Sensitive.
No, just factual. Anyway, if you've quite finished...
Relax. The war's over. You may have your feedback. Finish as you desire.
Thank you. And you are?
Shipmaster.
Shipmaster...
To you, Shipmaster.
Do you have a name?
By the rings, this is too much.
Okay. Understood loud and clear. Shipmaster, thank you for your insight in this matter.
Do not mention it. Ever. I am needed elsewhere.
Okay. Well, I guess that just leaves me to say, thanks for watching. If you have any thoughts on what you'd like me, well, us, apparently, to cover in future most detailed breakdowns, let me know down below. If you're new to the channel and like lore theories and Halo technology being analysed at insane levels of detail, hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon so next time I put a video out, you're told the second it hits the shelves. Also, if you really like the channel, consider popping over to Patreon and give whatever support you can over there. It massively helps me out and frees up more time for me to put into this Halo content and other Halo related projects. Thanks again everyone. Now go rest your brain.